I wanted to talk to the American people about what's going on in our country, especially after I heard Kamala Harris say yesterday during a rally, when someone said to her, Jesus is Lord, and then he says, Jesus is King, she put those two young men out of her rally. That is something that every American, every Christian American should be concerned about, and not just Christians, in other religions as well. Because if you notice, when they did all of the sinister things during the Olympics, there were many religions that came out for for them mocking Christianity. And so now we have where it's just exposed. I mean, you can't get any better than that except to say that I do not respect and I do not have any kind of connection to Christianity. So for all Christians out there, if you overlook this, you are playing with yourselves. Stop saying that you're a Christian when you can just flagrantly follow someone who has made it very well known that Christianity is nothing to them. And now let's go and look at this. Why is this such a big deal? The reason it's such a big deal is because the United States was born, and I say this lightly because, of course, we have a past, especially with Native Americans, that is, to me, is very heinous. But in building the country, and I'm not ever going to excuse that, I'm never going to excuse slavery, but in the other side of our country, we were built on Christian virtues, and then on those Christian virtues and our Christianity, shall I say, because not necessarily Christian virtues, but Christianity. And so for someone to say Jesus is Lord and someone to say you're at the wrong place, that is very telling. I have said to you since you first saw my first video, is that we're now in a struggle between good and evil, a struggle between God and Satan. And if you don't believe it, you look at all the signs. You know, I just heard someone say yesterday in an interview that we have over 320,000 young people or children who are missing from the border. Where are 320,000 children? Do you know 320,000 children? That's the size of many states. They don't have a city that large. So you're talking about an entire city that's a decent sized city that's missing that many children. That is unheard of. And so when you hear of things like that, when you hear about the missing kids in Lahaina, you hear what happened to Lahaina with its fires and its land grabs, and then you go over and you look at what happened in Georgia and the explosion for the plant there. And then you look at what happened with the hurricanes and the land grabs for the hurricanes, and the governor, I believe, of North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken, saying that these people may never get their homes back or their property back, that the government was basically going to take over. It's time for every American to sit down and look at this. This is not a political battle between Democrats and Republicans. And if anyone is sitting there thinking that it is, you are so mistaken. The first thing that we look at is who's doing this battle. Who started this battle between good and evil? It started years ago, probably 100 years ago, maybe even longer, when they gave the Federal Reserve to a family. And then what happened when they did that, they empowered these rich families to think that they ran the world. And they really do believe that. Now, why you would want to run the world, I have no idea. But, you know, I don't have it like that. So I can't pretend to understand what their backgrounds are, or what makes them, or what provokes them to want to run the entire world. I don't understand. I don't even care what my next door neighbor is doing. I surely don't care what someone in Africa is doing, or somewhere in another part of the world, because I feel like they will take care of themselves, and it's not up to me to control them. So anyway, you must look at the history of the world, and you must look at the history of oligarchy. You look at the people who have always interfered in other countries, who have interfered in the rights of other humans, and then you'll get to the whole situation. You get to what happened and why they're doing it. So everything that you're seeing right now, we're seeing things that we've never seen before, and I'm going to go back to a few things. What happened in Lahaina was heinous. Americans ignored the fact that we had a state, that are part of a state that was on fire. They did not respond to the fire adequately. And then they have over 2,000 children still missing. The people were not allowed, many of them, to even file insurance claims. They were not allowed to go back in and claim any of their belongings or even look for their children. Lahaina, we must not forget it. And then let's keep going. And then we also had a similar situation happen in Palestine, Ohio, when they had you remember when we were having all of the train derailments and everybody acted like it was no big deal. And it's so funny. This is why social media is trying so hard to keep us from talking, because you understand that the same companies own all major networks, but in social media they don't own what we say, and they're trying so hard. And that's why, like what happened in Palestine, Ohio, where they had the train derailments and so much was contaminated, parts of the Mississippi River, the Ohio River that ran into the Mississippi River, how it was contaminated. And everybody acted like it was no big deal. And then let's keep going. And then we had the hurricanes. We had Hurricane Helene that happened in the southeastern part of the country, and how so many states were affected by it. And now, as I said, the governor is saying that he doesn't know if the people can get their land back. Then you had Florida and what happened in Florida, and you had the other hurricane that came through just last week. And so when you have all of these things happen, things that are happening that have not ever happened to this magnitude this often, you have to ask what is going on in our country. What is going on in the world? And I'm going to make it very short and sweet. You have a globalist takeover of our world, a globalist takeover by the wealthiest people in the world. And yesterday, Kamala Harris was at a rally, and someone said to her, Jesus is Lord, and then Jesus is King, and she put them out of the rally. Do I need to make it any more clear? Can she make it any more clear? You're in a battle between good and evil. That is the battle. The battle is not between Democrats and Republicans. You remember that. And then you also look at the fact that all of the people that endorsed P. Diddy are going at her rallies. They are her major supporters. All of the elitists, and I don't like to use that term because I think it says something is positive, and I don't like to portray them as anything positively. But anyway, you look at all of the things that are going on, and you look at who's on which side. You have the elitist oligarchs on one side, and then you have just regular Americans on the other side. That's it. Good and evil. Regular Americans that just do what we do. We go to work every day. We raise our children. We go to college. We do those things. Regular Americans. Elitists. They come up with ways to destroy everybody else. They talk down to the rest of us. They feel like they can control everyone else. Good and evil. That's it. That's all it is.